Across the traditional martial arts, one thing you see very often is a large group of people all moving together, doing the same thing at the same time, together. So what's that all about? Hey, what's up? I'm Ken. This is Kenfu TV, and each week I release videos in the martial arts, philosophy, technique, training, that sort of thing. So if that's the kind of thing you're into, I hope you stick around. I hope you subscribe. Leave a comment down below if you enjoy this or have questions or have things that you want to talk about. We do comments at the end of every video, and oftentimes it's led to some really good conversation. Today's off to a really great start. I just got done doing Kundalini Yoga and Tai Chi at our dojo. We've had the Tai Chi we've had before, but the instructor was finally able to come back and continue teaching, and the Kundalini Yoga is new, and I'm incredibly excited. So I just went this morning, and I participated in both of those, and it was amazing. If you're not taking the opportunity to do some yoga and some Tai Chi, I highly encourage it. It's so very good. If you like the martial arts, the Tai Chi, very martial, very applicable. If you're just wanting to make sure that you're taking good care of your body, you're getting the most out of your body, then yoga is incredible. And don't think for 1 second that it's not for you, because I believe yoga of some flavor is for everyone. Before we get into today's topic, I want to talk about the shirt a little bit. Today's shirt comes all the way from Nova Scotia, Canada. I'm incredibly excited about this one for a variety of reasons. First, Nova Karate Jutsu used to be called Applied Shotokan by Andy Allen. Andy Allen, easily one of my favorite and most inspirational people for me right now in my karate journey. I've been following his work for a long time, and he is ahead of me on the path that I'm trying to go. Andy has been moving steadily towards a practical applied karate syllabus for a while now, and he's been very free with a lot of it, posting videos and sharing his thoughts and being on podcasts and talking about it. And I really have benefited from everything that he's doing in that way. From thousands of miles away, he has made a huge impact in my training, in my journey, because this is a direction that I am going, and watching him go through it, seeing and getting to learn from his stumbles and his breakthroughs, absolutely incredibly wonderful. So why Nova Karate Jutsu? Why the name change? Why not Applied Shotokan like he's been doing? Well, there's a pretty simple answer if you follow the practical applied karate stuff. Is Shotokan itself tends to fall firmly into the 3K karate. Kata, Kihon, Kumite, never the three shall meet. Training to be good at kata, training to be good at Kihon, and training to be good at Kumite against other karate practitioners. Very specific, very form-based. Shotokan itself, over time, with its Japanese influence, has really become structured and aesthetic. Tell you what, it's systematized and organized in a really great fashion. It is probably one of the most popular, the most well-known styles of karate that's out there. But with that comes a certain understanding of what that looks like. And as Andy has moved steadily away from doing things that way, he thought the name maybe was misleading. He also didn't want people that had trained with him before, who have done Shotokan, or people who are returning to Shotokan, coming to his school, to be kind of thrown off by coming back and it not really being what they're used to, what they expected when they walked through the door. So he wanted a name that really referenced this idea of what he's doing in practical karate and just something new and unique to him. Now, mind you, the head of the tiger that's on the logo is the head straight from the Shotokan logo, because it's harkening back to his roots, his specific Shotokan roots that he comes from. So he's making sure to maintain that inside there. Surrounding that is a symbol that I'm very fond of, something that I use in a lot of the things that I do, is the Enzo, or in this case, the broken Enzo, or the incomplete Enzo. The Enzo circle itself representing the pursuit, right? It being broken, meaning there's still room for movement and discovery, kind of following that Japanese concept of wabi-sabi, the beauty in imperfection, something that maybe sits at the heart of what Andy's doing, the fact that it's constantly moving forward, it's constantly rediscovering, and it's never complete. It's always working forward. It has this overlapping concept for him of this function over form, and the fact that karate is first and foremost a combative art, and that should be at the core of what's happening. The word Nova is the Latin word for new and represents where he's from, Nova Scotia, New Scotland. So it has multiple facets of understanding, one pointing to where it's at. They're in Nova Scotia, right in the name. So for the people local, it's got a familiarity to it. The word new really representing that he's got this new journey that he's going on, his new martial journey. So it's a rebirth of sorts for him, and I love that. I love that, the whole imagery of that. And lastly, he's calling it karate jutsu. If there's one thing that Andy is doing is he's focusing on the combative principles of the art and not the art form of the art. From what he told me, he struggled with this one a little bit because moving from karate-do, karate-jutsu comes honestly a lot of online drama, people seeing the name and having things to say. And the truth is he went with it ultimately to just emphasize that the combative principles are more important. It's still karate-do. The do ethos is still there. It's just not the primary focus. It's not the priority. It's the benefit. It's the byproduct of practicing, which it was. If you look at jujutsu and moving into judo and karate jutsu kind of following suit, the concept was this idea that we're not doing anything different. We just changed why we're doing it. We're no longer at war, so we're not training for war. We're training for the perfection of the practitioners. Well, they were always training for the perfection of the practitioners. It was always there. I love this. I'm very excited. I'm very excited to talk about what Andy's doing, to wear his new logo, and to get to be a part of seeing this new journey coming about. He also very graciously sent a patch, the new Nova Karate Jutsu patch that they'll have on their gis and while they're training, just to represent that. And now that gets to be a part of the studio, representing something that's really important to me. I don't even know if he realizes how much of an impact he's had in what I'm doing. So I'm very thankful to be showing this. Truly, if you're doing karate, especially the practical karate, and you haven't discovered Andy Allen yet, or you have not been following what he's doing, go do it. Go look up his stuff. I'll have links in the description. And look at what he's sharing. Give him feedback as he continues to grow. He's in this great Shoshin space right now where it's always looking at what could this be, where could we go, and how can this continue to grow, and how can we continue to make improvements and keep the parts of culture that are important and ditch the parts that are holding us back. And I really love what's going on. I hope that you do too, and I hope that you go check out what he's doing. So what are we talking about today? Today we're talking about the group exercises where everybody looks identical, and you all can picture it, especially in the Chinese arts where there's 100 people lined up in equally spaced in a grid, all moving exactly the exact same time. Very attractive choreography, looks very good. Some people really struggle with that because they go, why? What's the point? Why are we trying so hard to have everybody move exactly the same way and nobody's training with each other? And the truth is the training with each other was happening too. So I want to get that out of the way to begin with. Is these group exercises where everybody moves together as one does not replace partner training. It does not replace other fitness and strength and cardio and other types of training that have to be done. I was having a really good conversation with my instructor the other day, and he brought up a friend of his who works with the space shuttle and things like that, and talking about this concept of how everybody does things the certain way. They all move the same way. They all are making sure, all the beds are made, all the stuff, all of the things that they do are done with exactness. What he had to say about that, and you've probably seen it. Commanding officer comes in and looks, and all the beds are made. Everything is in its place where it's supposed to be. Everybody's standing the same way. Everybody behaving the same way, responding the same way. A lot of people, that's discipline. I don't disagree, and I don't discount the fact that is discipline. There is a lot of discipline there to do that. But some people will go, why does it have to be so uniform? Allow me to flip your perspective a little bit. What if I told you that they're not looking for everything to be the same? Instead, they're creating an environment where it's really obvious when something is different. This can be incredibly important in those military and other types of applications where these things have to be done a certain way, and people need to be on board and doing what they do and staying on track. Then being able to quickly see if somebody is going off the reservation, they're losing their way, then maybe that means that they need help. Maybe they need to be pulled out of certain jobs that they're doing. Maybe it means that their ammunition should be taken away for now. In some of the training that I've done for cybersecurity and government contracts and things like that, some of those things are also good ways to see if there's a spy working, somebody who is on the take and working to give up secrets, or possibly not necessarily doing it for financial gain, but also possibly being manipulated to do certain things. When somebody starts behaving differently than they have been, it stands out. And so here's this concept of everybody doing things the same way, so that it's really easy to see when somebody has started to veer off course. Bringing it back to the training, everybody moving together, doing kata and forms and technique, isn't about building duplicates, building copies. My instructor said, if all my students look the same, then I have failed. That did not preclude this concept, though. This concept of everybody looking the same in certain drills and certain movements, doing the same thing, has value. And where that value comes in is this concept of being able to really quickly see where everybody's at. If the whole group moves as one and nothing stands out, then everybody's probably at the same level. If the whole group moves as one, but there's one person who's really having trouble, struggling, keeping up, whatever, then that person probably needs some extra attention. It's not a negative thing. It's not saying, oh my gosh, we didn't do a good job of making everything identical. It's allowing for the identification of where effort needs to be put. Effort on the instructor's part, effort on the student's part, whatever it is. I think this is a very important concept, and it really helps to illustrate this idea. My thought for a long time was, when you saw those large groups, why do we do katas this way, and why do we have all these groups this way? And for me, that was, well, that's what you do when you have too many people to be able to work with them one-on-one. I still think that's true. I still think that is part of it. Being able to train everybody at once is useful in a large group environment. But this adds a new level of detail for me, a new way to approach this, which, to be honest, I was naturally discovering recently. In our training, one of the things that I've done is I've taken kata and I've shifted it to be part of the warm-up the body, get all the joints moving. We have what I call, it's a bottom to top warm-up that I call joint lubrication, that gets every part of your body moving. Starts off with awareness of balance and bringing awareness to your body, and then working through and making sure that all parts of your body have moved and warmed up at least a little bit before training begins. Should take 5 minutes. Then moving into doing all the kata. That's one of the changes I made recently, is instead of before, then we would go straight into, drill or progressions or some kind of thing. Now, the senior student leads all of the kata back to back. The heian katas that we do and the nahachi katas that we do. So 5 heians, 3 nahachis. In my current syllabus, those are the katas that you learn, and then when you've gotten to that point and ready to move forward, then you're given a kata specific for you to work on that's outside of what the whole group is doing. So because of that, they're really getting a chance to work through the entire set of kata, going through all of them one time each, and not really worrying about whether or not everybody did it perfect. Part of the concept for me was to be able to build a time that the katas were being practiced regularly without an enormous amount of time spent on them. And people were learning the katas that they don't know over time by stealing it while working with people who do know them. So as you work through them and as you come to know the technique and understanding of those, then those katas become more familiar to you. Again, this takes maybe 10 minutes. So we're talking 15 minutes of the total class spent getting a quick warm up and then running through all the katas. The whole body's moving, basic motions that we go through have all been gone through. I'm really enjoying this method right now. It's something that's still pretty new to me, but one thing that I have noticed is really quickly the whole group can move as one. Even people who have not really learned everything about the katas or even spent any time on the application for most of them. So maybe a new student and they only know the application of the first 1 or 2, and then the rest of them they're just doing through mechanical copying. And that's okay. As their knowledge increases, we now have the ability to spend more time focusing on why they're doing the kata, what the application is, spending more of the class time working with people. Kata, I believe, is served best when you're alone. So it shouldn't take up all parts of your training if you're having an opportunity to work with other people. Really quickly, I started seeing the group moving together as one unit very smoothly and very uniformly, almost automatically, and way faster than I expected. And without being kind of aware, without having heard of these other military or space program ideas behind why they have the consistency they do, I started recognizing that it was really easy to see when somebody was off track, if they were lost or they were having trouble keeping up or something like that. It was really obvious all of a sudden. You looked out and everybody's moving and one person didn't. That person stands out. Awareness itself, in my definition, is defining what's normal so that you can highlight what's not. Well, this became very useful. And for right now, because this is a warm-up, because I've told people there are no expectations of this, do your best. Go through it. I'm not looking for you to have it perfect because I'm not going to spend time messing with that right now. Just want you to go and follow the best you can, steal what you can, and there's no pressure. Then it really hasn't been something where I'm like, oh, I really got to work with them on that. If it's something that I see them moving and doing something they should be really good at and they're struggling with it, then I might talk to them about why, and that might give me a good place to talk and work with them individually to really understand where they're at. But what I'm mostly seeing instead is that I have a really good marker of progress If one particular person in the group was really struggling and bouncing around inside of everybody, and then over the next couple weeks that stopped happening, then I know progress is being made without having to sit and really sweat all the details of what that person is doing. It means that they're learning and they're coming together with that knowledge. This passive awareness of how people's progress is being made is incredibly helpful, and I'm starting to look at how I might be able to apply that outside of that space to when I see certain drills being done, certain partner work or pad work. Usually I'm looking one at a time at each person while I'm watching through the room to see, okay, do they have it? Now I can start maybe paying more attention to who doesn't have it and just flip that around. Okay, the whole room's moving good. Instead of focusing on little details on somebody who's doing really well, and this comes down to priority of training for me. If I'm taking somebody who's doing really well and feeding them a lot of detail, but missing and neglecting somebody who's not doing well at all, I'm hoping to gain 5% with this person that's doing it well when I could go gain 50% with somebody who's struggling given the same amount of my time. So this is an important discovery for me as an instructor of how I can better maximize my usefulness of passing knowledge and recognize who's where quickly and get them doing the things that they need to do. And the next thing comes down to pairing them with people who are going to help balance out the things that they're missing and get them there. I think this is leading to a really, really good method. I'm really excited to kind of watch this discovery, and perhaps I'm mostly just rediscovering something that's been going on for a long, long time that I just really didn't understand in that way. I still think individual training is important. I still think it's incredibly critical that one-on-one time, individual instruction, and the person developing as an individual is one of the most important parts of the training. Getting that group to look like a group is not the goal. Now we just know it's a metric. It's a way to quickly establish where something's not working. At the end of the day, training the individual to be successful as an individual, to do things individually in their own individual way, is the goal. Making them proficient and skillful to the things that they are uniquely good at. Building them up that way is the most important. So I don't know, maybe this gave you some ideas on how to utilize some of those group training times to be able to spend less time fixing the group and give yourself back more time to go work with individuals. What do you think? What ways do you think that we can improve how we teach a group without making them a group full of copies? At the end of the day, if everybody looks the same, then I have failed. And how's the other quote go? If everybody's thinking the same thing, then somebody's not thinking. I don't know. I think recognizing the individual is important. Let's go hit my favorite comment from last week, and then we'll wrap up this video. Okay, let's talk about one of my favorite comments from last week. This one by our very own Stuart James Gray, always leaving excellent comments, but this one in particular was just one of my favorites. Remembering that last week's video was about the burden of knowledge and the difficulty sometimes of bridging the gap between your level of knowledge and the level of knowledge of the person you're working with. He says, "Good afternoon, good topic. I was that guy once. So I have a fairly small group, pre-COVID, still waiting to reopen, long story, around 20 to 25-ish. I usually lead the class during basics, but when we break up into belt groups, I usually take the white and yellow belts and allow my immediate subordinate, my Renshi, to take the senior belts. 2 reasons. First, I'm responsible for setting the standard. Second, Shoshinsha no Kokoro, beginner's mind. I want to retain a beginner's mind. I never want to be too high that I forget how to teach the low. Edit Ed Parker had a saying, learn fast, forget fast, learn slow, forget slow. I really like this because to me what he's saying is that it's really important to stay connected to all things and not let, as your level becomes super high, let you lose sight of the fact that the people that need what you have might not already have what you think they should. The things that I love about what he's doing here is he's got his Renshi teaching the senior belts, so he's got high belts teaching the people working to be high belts. It's a really great way to make sure that the training continues for the people of high knowledge to be able to teach and to be able to pass their knowledge. That's a great way to round out what you know. And then for him, man, one of the things I love the most is this idea is I'm responsible for setting the standard. Not setting a standard inside of a student and then sending that student over to set the standard to someone else and hope that it goes okay, but instead setting the standard from day one. And then this concept, the second concept of the beginner's mind and the fact that he never wants to be so high to teach a low. Now, obviously in the video we talked about the concept that there could be people who work to be very high level, and then they only work with people who are prepared to work with them. There is a value to that. There is. And a lot can be gained in a shorter period of time with people who meet a certain standard working with somebody at a very high level. But I don't think that's the majority or should be the majority of the situations. Instead, this idea that the person who knows the most is able to work easily with somebody who knows the least leads to the best spread of knowledge. Not maintaining the upper 10%, but instead making sure that the largest percentage has a great repository of knowledge to work with. I really like that. It gave me a lot to think about, and I appreciate this comment for giving me those things to think about. I find sometimes that for me, it depends on the day where I go, and if I spend my time with the senior students. I mean, it's difficult sometimes because you want to make sure that the seniors are continuing to progress on their own, and they need to work with people who are higher than them to do that. And sometimes that only person is you. We don't have a huge school, so sometimes that person is me, and I don't want to constantly work too low that I never spend time on the people who have been there the longest, getting them a little further along. But meanwhile, I absolutely love early on in people's training, getting to show them the things that I like to see, the things that I want to share, and getting to see those early stages of progress going on. I'm massively inspired by a new student every time. It's just very, very cool. Anyway, that's it for today. Keep an eye out for the other video with the rest of the comments from last week, and we'll go wrap this up. Okay, so there it is. What's wrong? The idea of being able to look at something as a whole, done uniformly, to be able to easily pick out and recognize when something is not matching. Not looking for everyone to look the same, but instead to be able to quickly identify the person who looks different, to find out where they are and what they need. Hope you enjoyed this, and if you did, if you like videos like this and like what I'm doing, then you can subscribe right here. If you want to see a playlist of these videos, you can hit that right here. When it's uploaded, the rest of the comments from last week will be right here, and here's another one you might like right here. I'm Ken, this is Ken for TV, and I'll catch you in the next one.